I had already made my decision. I was going to file for divorce. After 15 years of marriage, I felt empty. We weren't fighting anymore. We weren't loving either. We were surviving, like roommates with shared responsibilities. And I told myself that wasn't enough. But I didn't expect what would happen next. We used to laugh. We used to dream. Now we discuss schedules, bills, responsibilities. The silence between us became heavier than arguments. And the scariest part, I stopped missing him. The house feels different now. Not empty, just quieter. It's the kind of quiet that presses against your chest. Not peaceful, not comforting, just aware. Our sons built their own lives, their own routines, their own distances. They visit sometimes, they call, they ask if everything is okay. And I always say yes, only our daughter remains. 18, standing on the edge of her own future. She walks through this house like she's reading it, like she's listening to walls that no longer speak. She watches us more than she speaks. Her eyes move from me to him to the silence between us. And I know she feels it, the tension, the restraint, the words we swallow instead of saying, the almost goodbye that hangs in the air. This house once held noise, laughter, plans. Future tense, now it holds hesitation. And I was ready to end it, to sign the papers, to call it closure, but something about this quiet felt unfinished. There was a time when we couldn't stay away from each other. We talked about everything, dreams, fears, plans for a future that felt unbreakable. Somewhere along the way, that closeness faded, not in one big fight, not in one dramatic moment, but in small silences, in conversations replaced by scrolling, in dinners eaten without eye contact, in nights where we said, "I'm tired," instead of "What's wrong?" We were still living in the same house, still raising our children, still smiling in photos, but emotionally, we were miles apart. And I started wondering something I was afraid to say out loud. Were we still a couple, or just two people managing responsibilities? That question stayed with me, and it changed everything. We never believed I would actually ask for divorce. I complained for years. I cried. I warned him I was getting tired, but in his mind, I would never leave. Until I did. In those final days, before everything almost ended, he changed. Not with anger, not with shouting, but with silence. He started drinking more, not loudly, not aggressively, just enough to sit alone at the kitchen table past midnight. He thought I didn't notice. He stopped arguing, stopped defending himself, and somehow that scared me more. There was regret in his eyes, a sadness that didn't know how to speak. One night in the dark, thinking I was asleep, he whispered, "I didn't think she would really go." That was the first crack in his certainty. He wasn't ready to lose us. He just never believed he could. The silence became unbearable, so I sat across from him. No screaming, no accusations, just truth. "I don't want to hate you." And then everything came out. Yes, I had doubts about the late night messages, about the screen lighting up at 1 a.m., about the way he turned the phone face down. But worse than the messages was the silence, the lack of explanation, the distance. He didn't shout. He didn't explode. He said quietly, "I was ashamed of how distant I had become." not betrayal. Escape. We cried, not dramatically, but honestly. And for the first time in years, we truly listened. We stood up slowly, walked toward each other, and embraced. Not perfect, not magically healed, but willing. We forgave mistakes, we forgave absences, we forgave immaturity, we forgave silence, and I gave him one more vote of confidence, not because I was weak, but because I still believed our family was worth saving. Change didn't happen overnight, but it started. He stopped hiding his phone, started coming to bed earlier, started talking, really talking. We created new rules: no silence as punishment, no distractions replacing conversation. And slowly, trust began to rebuild, not perfectly, but sincerely. Marriage doesn't end in one explosion, it fades in silence, in pride, in distance. I almost left, he almost lost everything, not because love was gone, but because honesty was. Sometimes strength is living, but sometimes strength is staying, choosing the same person again, rebuilding. Tell me, would you have walked away or fought one more time?